There's a smattering of corporate news due in the week after Easter, but the real fuss in the few days ahead is going to come from the macro side owing to the following releases, all due on Friday the 1st of April. We've got the UK's latest Manufacturing Sentiment Survey or Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, the latest equivalent survey from America, and also from the US, the latest non-farm payrolls and employment data. Hello, I'm Russ Mould, AJ Bell's Investment Director, and in this latest edition of our regular markets review, Breaking the Mould, I'm going to look at these three macroeconomic releases, as each could go a long way towards shaping central bank monetary policy and therefore broader financial market sentiment. So, let's start with the UK's Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, compiled by CIPS and Market. Simply put, any score above 50 suggests the nation's manufacturers are optimistic and expecting future growth. Any score below 50 tends to be associated with economic slowdowns, even recessions. As you can see here, the February reading was just 50.9. The indicator's been losing momentum for some time, and that was actually the lowest score since spring 2013. Further weakness could be potentially a bad sign for the UK economy, where year-on-year GDP growth has already decelerated for the last 4 quarters. Now, it's been a similar story in the US, where the manufacturing PMI has already dipped below 50. This may be one reason why the US Federal Reserve has backed away from its original plan to raise interest rates 4 times this year and now intends just a pair of quarter-point hikes. Yet this shift has been taken by the markets as good news and has actually helped share prices to rally, especially in cyclical sectors like mining. So we may be in a situation where bad news economically is good news for markets. That said, I'm not sure that oddity may last forever. This chart shows how America's S&P 500 has historically tended to follow the ISM manufacturing PMI pretty closely over time. It does look as if the US economy hits a winter sticky patch, and the key now is whether the manufacturing enjoys a spring thaw that takes it back above 50 or not. If so, it might soothe nerves about corporate earnings. Encouragingly, some of the local Federal Reserve surveys, Philadelphia, New York and Richmond, have shown improved momentum, although others such as Kansas are still a little bit more mixed, so let's see what the national score does. The final piece of macroeconomic news to really watch is non-farm payrolls. This looks at the number of jobs added or lost in the month outside of the seasonal agricultural industry. We'll also get America's national unemployment rate and wage growth figures. Fed Chairwoman Janet Yellen has been banging on and on about how jobs figures are key to the monetary policy making process. Her predecessor Ben Bernanke said rates would start to rise once the jobless figure went below 6%. He fibbed. Yellen put through the first rate rise sometime after he'd gone, and when the rate was barely 5. Now Yellen is focusing on the 2% core inflation figure, and wage increases have a big role to play here. Wage growth in February was 2.2%, so let's see how that's developed. And if anything, that's an even more important than the non-farm payrolls number itself, which last month was 242,000, a figure that showed improvement after a 4th quarter lull, as this chart shows. Now, if wage growth accelerates and the Fed remains dovish, in other words, Yellen's fibbed about rate rises as well, then markets could take that to mean the central bank's preparing to let inflation run for a bit. That could, historically at least, be good for stocks, property, commodities like gold, and bad for bonds, again if history's any guide. So this is an important data set, and as it may determine whether share prices keep a spring in their step after the latest rally. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.